There was a moment right in the heart of Washington when a war zone went dark. Ukrainian forces lost communication. The Pentagon couldn't reach their allies, and someone in the room said it. Flat out call Elon, not the president, not a general, but a private citizen, one man who held the keys to America's battlefield internet. Elon Musk wasn't elected. He didn't swear an oath to defend the Constitution. Yet, the US government needed his permission to keep their operations alive. You see, when you control the satellites, the rockets that launch spy payloads, the electric vehicles that influence energy policy, and the social platform where politics happen in real time, presidents don't give orders anymore. They negotiate. Trump signed executive orders that shook Wall Street, but he couldn't control Musk because Elon Musk controls something bigger than money. He controls what the government needs to function. This isn't about lobbying. This is about something more dangerous, technological sovereignty. And at minute 11, you'll hear the moment a top official admitted it. We can't regulate him. We need him too much. Stay with us. For Musk rewired America's infrastructure. Another man quietly tested the blueprint. His name, Michael Dell. Most people know him as the guy who sold computers out of his college dorm. But behind that dorm room legend is something far more strategic, a $60 billion tech empire built on invisibility. Dell didn't flood Capitol Hill with lobbyists. He didn't buy headlines or endorse candidates. He did something far smarter. He made his company impossible to replace. You see, Dell Technologies powers the computers at the CIA, the servers at the Pentagon, the storage systems for federal courts, border control, and intelligence command centers. Quietly, Dell became the backbone of US digital security. And here's the genius. His systems are so deeply embedded into government infrastructure that unplugging him just once would mean paralyzing entire federal agencies. That's not influence. That's dependency. He called it infrastructure immunity. And it worked. While Facebook and Google were dragged into Senate hearings, Dell, he was nowhere near that spotlight, because no senator wants to shut down the system they rely on to read their own briefing reports. Dell played both sides Republican. Democrat, it didn't matter. His influence wasn't partisan. It was technical. And in that silence, he taught a lesson no billionaire after him would forget. If they can't function without you, they'll never regulate you. And as you'll soon see, Elon Musk didn't just copy that strategy. He weaponized it. If Michael Dell proved that tech dependency could shield you from government pressure, then Phil Knight showed how economic leverage could make governments bend. Knight didn't build tanks or satellites. He built sneakers. But behind every Nike logo is a web of manufacturing relationships so vast. It reaches across Vietnam, China, Indonesia, Mexico, and dozens more. And when Knight threatens to shift operations, it's not just about moving factories. It's about collapsing local economies. Governments panic. Ministers make late-night phone calls. Because pulling Nike out of a country doesn't just cost jobs, it risks regime survival. His strategy was subtle. While politicians talked trade policy, Knight dealt in economic diplomacy, quiet negotiations, no press conferences, just pressure. He could threaten more than tariffs. He could threaten unemployment crises. And when Nike moves, exchange rates shift, GDP forecasts change, and entire political cabinets go into damage control. USA diplomats started factoring in Nike's supply chain before making trade decisions. Because if Nike got squeezed in Vietnam, Vietnamese officials would start lobbying the US on his behalf. That's not just influence, that's outsourced lobbying from foreign governments. You don't need a seat at the WTO when you can trigger a currency dip by changing your supplier. Knight didn't control satellites, but he showed that controlling millions of jobs across emerging economies was enough to make presidents listen. And Elon Musk, he paid attention, because Knight's playbook wasn't about money. It was about how much disruption you are capable of causing. If Dell controlled what government agencies run on, and Knight controlled what global labor runs on, then Michael Bloomberg. He controlled what the government believes is true. Bloomberg didn't just build a news empire. He built a $95 billion data fortress and then made sure every financial institution and policy office was plugged into it. His weapon wasn't infrastructure, it was information. Every Federal Reserve meeting, every Treasury analysis, every White House economic briefing, all of them based on Bloomberg terminal data. You don't pass laws when you control the numbers that lawmakers use to justify those laws. And here's the trick, Bloomberg isn't just a source, he's the filter. What data is shown first? Which indicators look urgent? What trends seem dangerous? It's all curated down to the decimal point. When Bloomberg News runs a story on inflation, that framing alone can steer central bank decisions, alter stimulus plans, and even trigger policy pivots. It's not a conspiracy, it's strategic reality curation. And while other moguls spent millions lobbying Congress, Bloomberg influenced the spreadsheets Congress depends on. Politicians who resist pressure from lobbyists still base their speeches on Bloomberg graphs. And in that passive reliance lies his true power. Because if you shape how leaders understand the world, you shape what they do about it. Elon Musk saw that, and where Bloomberg controlled one sector of perception, Musk would later control parts of them. Dell controlled systems, Knight controlled factories, Bloomberg controlled information. But Warren Buffett, he controls fear itself. One sentence, that's all it takes. A single offhand remark from Buffett on CNBC, and within minutes, billions of dollars flood out of an entire sector. Stocks collapse, markets spiral. Treasury officials pick up the phone, because when the Oracle of Omaha speaks, the financial system listens. This isn't just reputation. It's not just influence. It's coordinated market psychology. Buffett knows exactly how to move sentiment, and when he moves it, the Fed adjusts its tone, hedge funds reprogram algorithms, government agencies rewrite talking points all within hours. What makes him different isn't just his wealth, it's the way he syncs with other giants. When Buffett voices concern about banks, Wall Street doesn't just worry, they dump. And when that dump starts, regulators scramble to contain the fallout. One shareholder letter from him can rewrite the week's monetary policy. His interviews move faster than congressional votes. And no president, not even Trump, wants to announce a stimulus package if Buffett might signal it's too late, because then the markets pre-react. That's not forecasting. That's preemptive economic veto power. Musk watched that closely, because where Buffett could move capital with words, Musk would later move entire governments with code. Warren Buffett could steer markets with a sentence, but Larry Page and Sergey Brin, they don't move markets, they move reality. Google isn't just a search engine, but it's the front door to human understanding. When a senator researches policy, he Googles it. When the NSA tracks terrorist chatter, they use Google servers. When the average American wants to know what's true, Google decides what shows up first and what doesn't show up at all. That's not convenience. That's algorithmic control over thought. Larry Page built the infrastructure. Sergey Brin tuned the engine. Together, they created the world's most powerful filter for perception. They don't scream for attention like other billionaires. They whisper through code. Their real power isn't the search box. It's what doesn't appear in it. Election cycles, foreign policy, cultural norms, all filtered, ranked, and prioritized by systems Brin and Page still influence. And here's the part no one talks about. Google customizes these filters per user, which means the truth itself looks different depending on who's asking. One population sees a scandal, another sees a smear campaign. That's not just bias, that's programmable consensus. And when billions of minds rely on one lens to view the world, whoever polishes that lens owns the narrative. Musk saw that too, but instead of just search engines, he would go after satellites, rockets, and the public square itself. If Brin and Page shaped what people see, then Larry Ellison shaped what governments know. Oracle isn't flashy, it doesn't trend on Twitter. But if you've ever wondered where the CIA stores its data, or what keeps the FBI's criminal database online, or how the Pentagon coordinates a global logistics strike, the answer is Oracle servers. And Ellison holds the keys. His strategy, critical infrastructure monopolization. once his systems went live in government agencies. Replacing them became nearly impossible. Technically, financially, logistically, you don't just swap out the nervous system of national defense. So, Ellison didn't need to lobby Congress. He just needed to remind them, if I pull the plug, you go blind. And then came Bill Gates, not with servers, not with code, but with charity. Bill Gates doesn't just donate, he engineers global health policy through the Gates Foundation. Want funding for vaccines? You follow Gates's model. Want research grants? You align with Gates-backed data. Developing nations entirely dependent. Health ministers take Gates's calls before they take their presidents. And behind the philanthropy lies something more calculated: policy through dependency. When governments rely on a foundation to respond to pandemics, that foundation gains veto power over public health decisions. No votes, no accountability, just access. Musk saw that too, because while Gates used vaccines, Musk would use rockets, routers, and routers inside rockets, not to heal, but to own the battlefield. If Gates mastered global health, then Jeff Bezos mastered everything else. He didn't just build a retail empire, he built America's circulatory system. Today, if Amazon stopped, pharmacies would stall, military shipments would freeze, government contracts would default, and within 48 hours, shelves across the country would go empty. That's not capitalism, that's logistics domination. But here's the twist: Bezos isn't just delivering packages. He's hosting the servers that run the US government. Amazon Web Services. AWS powers everything from CIA cloud storage to emergency communications and natural disasters, dual control, digital and physical. He became the choke point of modern America. And just like Dell, Ellison, and Gates, Bezos positioned himself so deep inside the system, any attempt to cut him out would trigger systemic collapse. When COVID hit and the federal supply chain faltered, it was Amazon that kept vital goods moving. And in that chaos, Bezos became what no billionaire had before: an essential service, not just to consumers, to the United States government. So, when regulators whispered about breaking up Amazon, they stopped short, because taking down Bezos meant risking a nationwide economic seizure. Elon Musk watched all of this. He studied Dell's silence, Knight's leverage, Bloomberg's filters, Buffett's market cues, Brin's algorithms, Gates's charity, Bezos's chokehold. And then Musk broke the system. He didn't play the game. He replaced the board. Elon Musk didn't just influence government. He built systems they can't function without. Starlink controls battlefield communications. SpaceX controls America's access to orbit. Tesla controls infrastructure tied to energy, transport, and data. X, formerly Twitter, shapes public opinion in real time. Musk doesn't ask for permission, because the government now asks him. When Ukraine lost satellite coverage, the Pentagon didn't contact NATO. They contacted Elon. When NASA retired the space shuttle, it wasn't Boeing or Lockheed that took over. It was SpaceX under Musk's command. And when federal agencies tried to rein him in, Musk reminded them, I can flip a switch. And your rockets don't launch. Your troops don't communicate. Your message doesn't reach the public. That's not lobbying. That's technological sovereignty. For the first time in American history, a single citizen has outscaled presidential authority. No votes, no oversight, no checks, just power coded into the architecture of civilization itself. So let's ask the real question. Do you think one man should ever have that much power?